Have you ever wondered what could possibly ignite a conflict so massive it engulfs the entire world in its flames? Today, we delve into the causes of World War II. To understand the spark that ignited the Second World War, we must first look back at the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty, signed in 1919, marked the end of the First World War. However, it sowed the seeds of resentment in Germany due to its punitive conditions. These included significant territorial losses, massive reparations, and the humiliating clause of war guilt. This resentment provided fertile ground for the rise of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party. At the same time, the world was grappling with economic depression. The Great Depression of the 1930s left millions jobless and hopeless. In such desperate times, people were more susceptible to the promises of strong, decisive leadership, even if it meant surrendering their freedoms. This economic turmoil further fueled the rise of totalitarian regimes, not only in Germany but also in Italy and Japan. In Italy, Benito Mussolini's fascist party promised to restore Italy's former glory, leveraging nationalistic sentiments. Similarly, in Japan, the militaristic government aimed to expand its empire to mitigate economic and resource constraints. These totalitarian regimes, driven by aggressive expansionist ideologies, further destabilized the international climate. Now let's consider the role of the League of Nations, the precursor to the United Nations. Despite its noble aim of maintaining world peace, the League proved ineffective in curbing the aggressive policies of these regimes. The inability of the world community to take decisive action against the early acts of aggression by Germany, Italy, and Japan only emboldened these nations further. In essence, the spark of World War II was the culmination of a volatile mix of political, economic, and social factors. The punitive Treaty of Versailles, the global economic depression, the rise of totalitarian regimes, and the failure of collective security all formed a powder keg ready to explode. And so the fuse was lit. The world was on the brink of the most devastating war in human history. With the stage set, the world watched as the first acts of aggression signaled the beginning of a catastrophic conflict. The invasion of Poland in September 1939 marked the official commencement of World War II. Germany's blitzkrieg tactics, a method of warfare characterized by rapid and powerful initial attacks, quickly overwhelmed the Polish defenses. This brutal assault set the tone for the war and demonstrated Hitler's intent to expand German territory at any cost. As the war raged on, Britain found itself under siege in the summer of 1940. The Battle of Britain was a crucial turning point, as the United Kingdom's refusal to surrender showcased the strength of Allied resistance. The Royal Air Force's successful defense against the Luftwaffe's relentless aerial bombardment saved Britain from a full-scale invasion and bolstered Allied morale. But the war was not confined to Europe. Halfway around the globe, December 7, 1941 marked a day of infamy. The surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese Imperial Navy brought the United States into the war, shifting the balance of power in the Allies' favor. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought in the harsh Russian winter of 1942-43, stands as one of the bloodiest battles in history. The Soviet Union's victory was a crippling blow to the German army, marking the beginning of the end for the Axis powers on the Eastern Front. And then, on June 6, 1944, D-Day dawned. The largest amphibious invasion in history saw over 150,000 Allied troops storm the beaches of Normandy. This bold act started the liberation of Western Europe, proving that the Axis powers could be pushed back. These pivotal events would turn the tides of war, leading to a climax that would forever change the world. But what of the people caught in the crossfire? The human cost of World War II is a somber reminder of the horrors of war. The stories of human suffering during World War II are heart-wrenching. One of the most tragic episodes was the Holocaust, a systematic state-sponsored genocide by Nazi Germany that resulted in the extermination of 6 million Jews. Men, women, and children were herded like animals into concentration camps, where they faced unspeakable atrocities. The Holocaust stands as a stark testament to the depths of human depravity. But the horror didn't end there. Civilian bombings were a brutal reality of the war. Cities around the world were reduced to rubble, their inhabitants living in constant fear of the next air raid. In London, the Blitz led to the death of over 40,000 civilians. In Dresden, a city with no significant military value, Allied bombings resulted in an estimated 25,000 civilian deaths. Then, there were the nuclear bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In an instant, 2 cities were obliterated. Over 200,000 people lost their lives, either in the initial blast or from the lingering effects of radiation sickness. The images of the mushroom cloud and the devastated cities are chilling reminders of the destructive power humanity now wielded. The toll on soldiers was equally heavy. They faced not only physical wounds but also the mental scars of combat. Post-traumatic stress disorder, then known as shell shock, became a grim reality for many returning veterans. The civilians too were not spared from the psychological impact. The trauma of losing loved ones, homes, and entire ways of life was a burden many had to bear long after the last shots were fired. The human cost of World War II was immense, leaving a lasting scar on the generations that lived through it. As the dust settled, the world emerged from the shadow of World War II, forever changed. The end of the war in September 1945 marked not only a cease in global warfare, but also the onset of a new world order. Politically, the world was carved into two superpower-led blocs, the United States and the Soviet Union. The ideological divide between capitalism and communism set the stage for the Cold War, a tense standoff that lasted for over 4 decades. Europe, once a continent of empires, saw a shift towards democracy and decolonization, leading to the birth of many new nations. Socially, the war spurred significant changes. Women, who had stepped into roles traditionally held by men during the war, began to demand equal rights, setting in motion the feminist movement of the 20th century. Similarly, soldiers returning from war sought better lives, leading to a boom in education and the rise of the middle class, particularly in the United States. Economically, the war had both devastating and transformative effects. While Europe and Japan faced the mammoth task of rebuilding their war-torn economies, the United States emerged as the world's leading economic power. The Bretton Woods Agreement established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, and economic cooperation became a key focus of international relations. The end of the war also saw the formation of the United Nations, an international organization aimed at preventing such cataclysmic conflicts in the future. The UN's charter committed to upholding human rights, fostering social progress, and promoting peace, goals that continue to guide global diplomacy today. World War II left a profound impact on the world, shaping the global landscape for decades to come. Its end marked the beginning of a new era, one filled with both promise and uncertainty, as nations grappled with the political, social, and economic changes brought on by the war. World War II serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of global conflict. The war's impact reverberated around the globe, leaving no corner untouched. The human cost was immense, and the political, social, and economic changes that followed were profound. The lessons to be learned from this period of history are multifold, but perhaps the most significant is the importance of preventing such conflicts from reoccurring. To do this, we must understand the factors that contributed to the war's outbreak, and ensure that we don't repeat the same mistakes. One of the key lessons is the vital role that international cooperation and diplomacy play in maintaining peace. In the aftermath of World War II, nations came together to form the United Nations, an organization designed to promote global cooperation and prevent conflict. This was a recognition of the destructive potential of unchecked aggression and the necessity for collective action. We've also learned that economic stability is crucial for peace. The economic turmoil of the interwar years contributed significantly to the rise of extremist ideologies and the eventual outbreak of war. Ensuring economic prosperity and fairness can help to prevent such conditions from arising again. Moreover, we must remember the importance of human rights. The atrocities committed during the war underscore the necessity of protecting these rights for all individuals, regardless of their nationality, ethnicity, or beliefs. Finally, we must remember the power of propaganda and misinformation. The manipulation of information was a powerful tool used by various factions during the war, leading to widespread fear and hostility. In our modern age, where information is more accessible than ever, it's crucial that we remain critical of the information we consume and promote a culture of truth and transparency. As we reflect on the events of World War II, remember, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Let's ensure that the lessons of this catastrophic event are not lost to the annals of history, but are used to guide our actions and decisions in the future.